Okay, this is a very simple concept that I want to teach you guys. It's called social murder. Social murder is one of the most basic concepts for leftism. And it's a term that Engels created in his famous treatise, The Conditions of the Working Class in England, which is actually what made Marx interested in him. Because Friedrich Engels, even though he owned a factory through his family, he actually became sympathetic to the workers in his factories, and he began to do sociological research of actually existing communities in the factories and the proletarians that worked in those factories. And he realized that there were a lot of people that were dying because of the conditions that were intentionally being created. He coined the term social murder. I mean, the Wikipedia on this is enough. Social murder is the unnatural death that occurs due to social, political, or economic oppression. The phrase was coined by Friedrich Engels in his 1845 work, The Condition of the Working Class in England. There you go. Whereby the class which at present holds social and political control places hundreds of proletarians in such a position that they will inevitably meet a too early and an unnatural death. That's exactly what these health insurance companies do. They create conditions where you have a disease that is treatable, sometimes curable, and they create the social conditions where you do not get that treatment even though the treatment is available and society could afford to procure it and provide it to you. But nonetheless, they stand as a middleman between you and the treatment, and they use techniques to block you from getting approved for it, and you die because of it, or your condition worsens because of it, and they profit from that reality, from their position. That is social murder. That is social mutilation. When one individual inflicts bodily injury upon another such that death results, we call that deed manslaughter. When the assailant knew in advance that the injury would be fatal, we call this deed murder. But when society places hundreds of proletarians in such a position that they will inevitably meet a too early and unnatural death, one which is quite as much a death by violence as that by sword or bullet, when it deprives thousands of the necessities of life, places them under conditions in which they cannot live, forces them through the strong arm of the law to remain in such conditions until that death ensues, which is the inevitable consequence, when it knows that these thousands of victims must perish and yet permits these conditions to remain, its deed is murder, just as surely as the deed of the single individual, disguised, malicious murder, murder against which none can defend himself, which does not seem what it is, because no man sees the murderer, because the death of the victim seems a natural one, since the offense is more one of omission than of commission, but murder it remains. And there you have it.